All right, guys. So one thing I've argued that Sleepy Joe Biden should do if he actually wants to improve his ratings, okay, as president and potentially save his presidency in 2024 is to go back to being Crime Bill Joe. Yes, go back to being Crime Bill Joe, okay? Get tough on crime, okay? Because crime is plaguing this country, specifically liberal cities, okay, like LA, San Francisco, Portland, New York, Chicago. We need to bring Crime Bill Joe back. However, because the Democrat Party is woke, the far left is woke, and Joe Biden is being controlled by woke handlers, he doesn't want to do that, right? He doesn't want to go back to his roots, even though we desperately need it, okay? However, we do have a story here of a president that is embracing being tough on crime, and you can see the results of being tough on crime as El Salvador's murders have plummeted by over a half in 2022 amid gang crackdown. Now, this gang crackdown has been very controversial as human rights activists have been crying foul over El Salvadoran President Nayib Bukele deciding to do something that, again, they're saying it's controversial, which is to lock up gang members who have been plaguing the country, okay? Yes, you have gang members that have been plaguing the country. I mean, El Salvador at one point was like the murder capital of the world. And their capital, San Salvador, was like the 28th most dangerous or deadly city in the world, behind, other cities, including, St. Louis, Cory Bush's city here in the U.S., okay? But yeah, pretty dangerous city, okay? Now, this guy has come in and he's turned things around and that country's going in the right direction. It's not there yet, but it's going in the right direction. And before you can actually clean up any country, any neighborhood, any city, you have to put a stop to crime, okay? And you're going to have to do stuff that people are not going to like, okay? You're going to have to, again, do some things that is going to make people uncomfortable, but it's necessary in order to create peace. And from peace, then you can build up what you want, okay? And again, I think this is a roadmap, right, for some of these Democrat leaders to follow if they actually want to clean up these liberal cities. So without further ado, I want to play a couple videos here, okay, of this new mega prison that has been built in, or that has been built in El Salvador, that is housing these gang members. And then I want to play a speech from the president there on what he's doing to basically try to keep people from honoring these gang members who have died, in the act of, some type of gang violence or something like that. So without further ado, let's roll the clip.
Hundreds of inmates, barefoot and stripped down to white shorts, scurry into El Salvador's new mega prison, ordered to crouch down on the ground one after another. These alleged gang members are the first prisoners of the complex named the Center for the Confinement of Terrorism.
Y gracias a Dios, la estamos ganando.
With a highly produced speech to police, President Nayib Bukele is celebrating the massive prison's opening, a cornerstone of his war on gangs. Also tweeting, "They're not scary anymore, are they?" The new complex, capable of holding 40,000 inmates, considered to be the largest of its kind in the Americas. The president touring the facility, fully equipped with armed guards and prison staff, workshops for inmates to manufacture goods, as well as dark isolation cells meant for solitary confinement and harsh punishment for, quote, anyone who tries to make any trouble. With no mattresses to sleep on or even any visitors allowed. Bukele declaring a state of emergency last March as violence plagued the country with more than 60 homicides reported in just one day. Top Story has been following the story since then, reporting on the mass arrests that followed as police hunted down alleged criminals.
They say they've arrested over 6,000 suspected gang members.
The emergency declaration, meant to be temporary but extended several times, suspended some constitutional rights like arrest warrants and access to legal representation. Human Rights Watch documenting the arrests of thousands, which include children.
That led to then the detention of 64,000 people, including 1,600 children.
What do you make of his use of social media to forward the publicity of this campaign?
President Bukele is making enormous efforts to control the narrative of what is happening in the country, and he does that through social media.
Despite the controversial show of force, some say the crime crackdown is working. The president seeing the highest approval ratings of any other Latin American leader.
Hay más seguridad, ando más tranquilo, puedo salir a caminar. Bueno, yo salgo a caminar todas las noches con mis hijos pequeños en toda la colonia. Y antes no podía.
El Salvador's National Civil Police reporting a sharp decline in homicides this February compared to years past. While the violence has gone down, some believe the cost may be too high.
We don't know if those who are being detained have committed a crime or are just there because they were tattooed and were in the wrong place at the wrong time.
All right, Valerie Castro joins us now here in studio. Kind of interesting, 90% approval rating, and yet people were still afraid to go on camera to talk about his presidency. Some people are questioning the timing of this opening of the mega prison because of an indictment that was unsealed here in the U.S.
That's right. Human Rights Watch is saying this is a way for the president to distract from that indictment that was unsealed last week against several alleged MS-13 gang members here in the United States. It includes allegations that they were engaged in, quote, secret negotiations with government officials in El Salvador for things like reduced prison sentences and special treatment in exchange for reducing the number of public murders. That would potentially benefit the president's approval, as you mentioned, Tom, but he has denied those allegations in the past.
Okay, Valerie Castro. Valerie, we appreciate that.
Hace poco, la Dirección de Centros Penales sacó a los reos, a los presos, para que fueran a destruir las lápidas, las tumbas de los pandilleros. La gente lo aplaudió, aquí y afuera. No solo en El Salvador, afuera de El Salvador, las poblaciones de otros países, otros pueblos, aplaudieron lo que estaba haciéndose acá, y obviamente el pueblo salvadoreño. Pero inmediatamente saltaron algunas organizaciones internacionales y de derechos humanos que por qué estábamos violando los derechos de los pandilleros muertos y de los familiares que van a esa tumba a enflorar a su ser querido, pues al pandillero que murió y que está enterrado ahí. Bueno, en primer lugar, nosotros no estamos prohibiendo que los pandilleros tengan tumba. Lo que estamos prohibiendo es que la tumba diga Mara Salvatrucha o que diga Pandilla Barrio 18. Simple y sencillamente porque en El Salvador, a partir de la aprobación de la ley de proscripción de pandillas, están prohibidos esos símbolos. No se puede tener símbolo de pandilla en ningún lado, ni en el graffiti, ni en la casa, ni en el cuerpo, ni en la tumba. Veamos el caso de Alemania, por ejemplo. Ojo, no estoy criticando a Alemania, me parece excelente lo que hicieron. Pero, como yo dije una vez, si queremos ser como los países desarrollados, que va a tardar mucho, pero si queremos ser como ellos, tenemos que hacer lo que ellos han hecho y lo que ellos hacen, no lo que ellos dicen que hagamos. Cuando los aliados le ganaron al nazismo, en Alemania, los nazis, una gran cantidad de los alemanes eran nazis, obviamente, ¿no? Entonces, para desnazificar a Alemania, se implementaron varias estrategias fuertes, que todavía están vigentes esas leyes en Alemania, y una de ellas, por ejemplo, es que no se puede tener una esvástica. El símbolo, la simbología nazi, no solo la esvástica, pero todas, y principalmente esa, que es la más conocida, son prohibidas en Alemania. No son prohibidas en Estados Unidos, no son prohibidas en El Salvador, no son prohibidas en Guatemala, porque nosotros nunca tuvimos el problema del nazismo. Entonces, para nosotros, a mí me ofende una esvástica, pero nunca hemos tenido ese problema aquí. Entonces, no tenemos que estar tan activamente persiguiendo las esvásticas. Pero allá en Alemania, que tuvieron ese problema, la prohibieron. Y no solo las prohibieron en papel, fueron a destruir toda la simbología nazi que existía en todo el país. Edificios públicos, estampillas, cartas, papel membretado, rótulos, banderas, vehículos, todo lo que tuviera simbología nazi tenía que ser destruido, incluyendo las tumbas. ¿Por qué? Porque para romper algo que estaba tan entrelazado con la sociedad alemana, no solo bastaba con capturar a los líderes de los nazis y matarlos, como hicieron ellos, sino que había que borrar toda la ideología nazi de la sociedad alemana. Y al día de hoy, en el año 2022, todavía es ilegal en Alemania portar una esvástica, un símbolo nazi. Es prohibido en Alemania. Tampoco se puede hacer una manifestación que diga viva Hitler. Es prohibido. En Alemania no se puede, porque ellos tenían que borrar el nazismo. Y para borrar el nazismo tenían que ser duros con la ideología nazi, no únicamente apresar a los nazis. Entonces, nosotros en El Salvador, gracias a Dios, nunca hemos tenido un problema de nazismo, pero sí hemos tenido un problema de pandillas, similar, porque no solo han hecho mucho daño, como los nazis, no solo han sido despiadados, como los nazis, no solo han sido crueles, como los nazis, sino que además están entrelazados en la sociedad salvadoreña, están en todos lados, hasta en los cementerios.
Yeah. So apparently what this man is saying is controversial, but honestly, I agree with it, right? Like, I mean, I'm gonna keep it 100. I am neutral on the suspending constitutional rights thing, but it was done by Congress. It wasn't just him unilaterally doing it. Congress said, no, we're suspending this, and we're gonna basically crack down on people's freedom of speech in order to rid an ideology out of our country, right? And I think what he said that was really so important that stuck with me was that we're not doing what these other countries are telling us to do, right? Which is to be soft on crime. We're doing what they actually did to rid extremism, okay, extreme violence out of their country. And he talked about Germany and how they rid Nazism out of their country. You know, he talked about how, you know, they basically banned the swastika, you know, any type of Nazi symbolism there in the United States. You know, we didn't ban the Confederate flag, you know, in order to rid the country of, I guess, Confederate ideology, because, again, that would be anti-First Amendment. But, I mean, if you do fly the Confederate flag, it's not like people are going to be honoring you, right? It's not like people are going to, you know, necessarily have a positive connotation with that, okay? But, again, you know, people got different interpretations of what the Confederate flag means. I'm just saying, in general, we're not honoring those things, right? For the most part, we're not honoring those things. Now, again, my only concern is that Democrats will see this and they're going to have the wrong takeaway. They're not going to use these tactics on the actual gang members here in the United States, which they should in interliberal cities like Chicago and New York and LA and San Francisco that are terrorizing innocent people. They might use these types of tactics, right, to justify going after people on the right, right? That's the only thing that I'm concerned about, okay? Like, they might use these tactics to go after MAGA. They might say anybody associated with MAGA is like being a Nazi, okay? They already call us Nazis, okay? So that's my only concern. But I have no problem with this stuff being used against gang members. And I think if Democrats were smart, they would take note of this and how effective it has been, because there's no doubt it's been effective. And the people there overwhelmingly approve of it, okay? They would take this and we would use these same tactics here in the United States. I'm going to keep it 100 with you, right? Because at the end of the day, we have a problem, right? We have a gang issue in this country. We have a fentanyl issue in this country. We have a drug problem in this country. This is why people, you know, they kind of cringe when they hear Trump say we need a death penalty for drug dealers, right? But, I mean, hey, if you want to stop the problem, that's how you do it. Now, again, I don't think we should be, you know, executing people for, you know, selling weed, okay, petty stuff. But I think there's an argument to be made when you talk about people that are moving kilos, okay, that are just straight up trafficking, you know, large amounts of drugs that's associated with gangs and violence and people losing their lives. I think that's an issue, right? Fentanyl, I think that's an issue. Despite the fact that, you know, Joe Biden laughs, okay, he laughs at that.
She was very specific recently, saying that a poor mother who lost 2 kids to fentanyl, that I killed her sons. Well, the interesting thing is that fentanyl they took came during the last administration.
Yeah, so my point is this, is that Democrats are doing the opposite of what the El Salvador president is doing in regards to cleaning up his country and trying to build up, you know, the country in the economy and to make it safe, right? They're saying, look, we need to let the criminals go free because locking them up is racist. And then magically, so-called people of color and people in the city are going to prosper. When that's just not how it works. You can't do that. You have to literally clean up the streets. You have to get rid of crime, okay? And then you can build something. Once crime is locked down, then you can actually build up from there, okay? You can't build anything when you have a crime-infested country or crime-infested city. This president understands that, and yes, sometimes you have to use controversial tactics, okay? You have to hurt some feelings in order to do what you got to do to bring your country or your city to a better place. It is what it is, okay? They're calling the guy a dictator, right? They're saying all types of bad things about him, but he's simply just doing it. He's saving lives, ultimately, at the end of the day. It is what it is. So, for the most part, I agree with it, okay? I definitely think there's some things that are controversial, but it's working. It's working. In a situation like that, where you have the murder capital, of the world, extreme circumstances calls for extreme measures in order to right the ship and to take the country in the right direction. Okay, because for that country, they're gonna want more tourism. Okay, they're gonna want more U.S. dollars coming in. You got to have a safe country to build anything. Okay, so hey, applause to him for doing the right thing, even though it's very controversial. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.